Chapter 14. Bright starlight danced off the rippling waves far below Vince and Bella as they perched on an outcropping of rock under the lighthouse. The evening was cool, but Vince took no notice, his attention captivated by Bella, who sat gazing up at the lighthouse rising far above them. She wore a dark traveling cloak over top her light blue gown, which mirrored the dazzling color of her eyes. Up close, Vince could see the smoothness of her complexion, framed by the gentle wave of her golden blonde hair that fell like silk over her narrow shoulders and down to her slender waist. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Yes, it is," Vince agreed, gazing out at the rippling waves that sparkled under the beam of the lighthouse. "My father tends the lighthouse, and when he isn't able to, I do." "I would love to see the city from the top one day," Bella said, looking at Vince and making his heart skip a beat. "I bet it's gorgeous." "Breathtaking. I'll take you up sometimes. Perhaps," Vince trailed off, thinking of his father's warning when he had told him about Bella. "Perhaps another day, though. My father's working right now and we don't want to distract him. We would not want him to misguide a ship." "Misguide a ship?" Bella asked curiously. "Yes," Vince explained, pointing out to the sea. "There are a series of rocks and sweeping currents as you near the harbor. If a ship struck a rock and went down, the currents would sweep the wreckage and crew out to sea. No one could survive a sink like that." "Oh, I see. Your father is up there then, directing the light. And what about your mother?" A wave of sadness washed over Vince and he stared down into his lap. "She fell very ill and passed away when I was young." "I'm sorry," Bella said quietly. "I never knew my mother. She died shortly after I was born." Vince looked up at her. Her blue eyes were full of sorrow and longing. He felt a sudden urge to reach out and pull her close, but decided against it. "I'm sorry, Bella," he said. "I know what it's like, missing your mother and all." Vince paused, then went on in a brighter tone. "My dad tells me stories, though, about how they used to dance. I even remember them dancing a couple times after my mother put me to bed. Our house was only one room, you see. My father has never been a wealthy man." "Your father's a doctor, right?" "Yes, a very good one, too. He travels a lot, though. I don't see him very often." Vince felt a swell of empathy. No mother and a father who was seldom around? "That must get lonely," Vince offered. Bella turned to look at him again, a sad smile crossing her face. "It can be lonely. His voyages would not be so long, but whenever he goes anywhere, he sets aside time to freely aid the people in the area who would otherwise find it difficult to afford quality medical assistance. He can't cure everyone, but he does his best to help as many as he can." "Why would a doctor as successful as your father care for the lower class?" Vince asked, confused. "Well, my father says it's because of something that happened years ago in the war. He has told me the story many times. I was just a baby when he was drafted. Appalled by the notion of taking another's life, he resolutely served as a medic. One night his camp was attacked. Everyone else fled to safety, but he was captured by a group of enemy soldiers that held him at gunpoint. He was only a doctor, but the soldiers were going to kill him anyways when a general came and stopped them, then proceeded to do the most peculiar thing." Vince smiled. "Let me guess." Bella looked at him and he continued. "The general dismissed the soldiers and helped him to his feet. Pointing to the path to the west, he told him to flee, but not before extracting an oath from him to use his skills to help those less fortunate than himself. For we think too often of our enemies and too seldom of our friends," the general told him. Bella's jaw dropped, and she stared at Vince for a second, stunned. "How did you know that? I've never shared this story. Have you met my father?" "No," Vince said sadly. "You see, my father has told me the same story many, many times." Bella looked confused. "Has your father done business with my father?" "I guess you could say that," Vince said with a chuckle, then sighed. "My father is the general who let your father go." Bella gazed out of the ocean, her eyes searching the waves, as if looking for the answer to something she did not understand. "For the years, the mysterious identity of the general has captivated my father," she explained. "He has searched for him diligently with no success. Yet, all this time you were right below us in the city." Bella paused. "Why has your father never gone to him? Surely you knew who we were. All of Boston knows who my father is." Now it was Vince's turn to stare out over the sea. What should he say? Faro's sorrow had crept into Vince's heart as well, and he could not help feeling hurt every time he thought of his mother's story. Taking a deep breath, he turned to Bella. "My father did go to him. 14 years ago, when my mother was dying, my father approached him for help, but he was turned away." "What?" Bella asked, bewildered. "That can't be. There must be some mistake. My father would never have turned him away. He says he owes his life to that man, to your father. He even wrote him into our will if he was ever found. If he had known, he would surely have helped." Into your will? Vince asked, surprised. If all you say is true, I feel we are missing parts of this story. My father recounts that when he went to seek help, your father did not deny knowing him. No, he simply said he had no time or care for him. Vince paused. That was also the day my mother died. Vince felt a fist of bitterness tighten in his stomach. Bella turned to him and placed a hand on his, tears beginning to brim in her eyes as she searched his face. The bitterness in Vince's stomach melted, and he felt his own eyes growing damp. I'm so sorry, Bella whispered, still looking up at him. I know that nothing I can say will change the past, but I promise that something is truly amiss. My father would never do such a thing. Bella hesitated as if thinking. I know. Let's send him a letter. He is not due back for another 3 weeks, so he should get it before he returns. Let's tell him everything we know, both sides of the story. Maybe he can help us fill in the blanks. I know he will want to know about this right away. Vince could have jumped for joy, but he stayed still, not wanting Bella to let go of his hand. Would you really? He asked hopefully. Of course, Bella said, a huge smile breaking across her face. If what you say is true, Vince said hopefully, it would mean the world to my father. He has not been the same since my mother passed away. It would mean the world to me. Well, Bella said, placing her other hand on Vince's, perhaps it can be my way of saying thank you. Vince sat there speechless. He was not sure if his heart was racing because of their discoveries or because Bella was holding his hands. He tried to think of something to say, but all he could manage to do was grin down at the gorgeous girl looking up at him with her captivating eyes and adorable smile. Would you care to dance? She asked him after a moment. Vince felt his face grow hot. I don't know how. I'll teach you. Well, Vince began, but Bella was already pulling him to his feet. She helped him into position, then smiled up at him again. It's not hard, she promised. It's just a big square. Step like this. Left, right, together, back, left, together, and again. Oh, there you go. You're getting it.
Start slowly. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Feel it inside. You don't have to hide when you're with me. Don't look down. Lose yourself in the sound. Look in my eyes. Be my guide. I'm yours to lead. So take my hand now. Share with me all of your dreams. 'Cause I never imagined this way that you make me feel. I'm home.
Now I see it's easy as 1, 2, 3. I feel it inside. You've kindled a light deep inside of me. Now I see what yesterday was a dream. Look in my eyes, be my guide. I'm yours to lead. So take my hand now. Share with me all of your dreams. 'Cause Vince did not want the evening to end. If he could have frozen time, he would have stayed in that moment forever. However, the night grew chill, and the time to return home drew nigh. "It's getting late," Vince said to Bella. "I better get you home." "Already?" she asked airily, stepping close to him. "Thank you for the dance." Leaning up on her tiptoes, she planted a kiss on his cheek before pulling away. "All right, now I'm ready to go home." Vince and Bella turned and walked away from the sea in the direction of the city, her arm through his as he led her through the night. From amid a small grove of trees near the lighthouse, Bartholomew emerged. Anger pulsed within him, scalding his thoughts with its fiery touch. Walking over to where Vince and Bella had danced, he drew his baton and drove it into the ground, falling to his knees as his emotions overcame him. Tears streamed from his eyes, making lines in the dust that had covered his face while lurking in the shadow of the trees. "Did you see?" he cried at the sky, shaking his fist towards the heaven. "My Bella, did you see?" Did you see the way she looked at him? Did you see the way she smiled? Did you see the way she held his hand as he rocked her like a child? Did you see the way she danced with him? How she laughed and sang out loud. "He is tearing the life from me, the life I never had. So come, pull me into darkness. Come, strike my bleeding heart. Come, chain me to my sorrow, then wait for me to fall to my broken heart." Did you see the light in her eye? Oh, what a sight to see. As a child lost and wandering, that light helped me